So this is how to address the crankcase breather and why you don't ever want to plug it. Don't plug it. I repeat, do not plug your crankcase breather. You're gonna have a bad time. Today I'm going to cover something that is actually in the service manuals, but I am going to go into it in detail today to show you guys what you're going to look at. I know a lot of you folks are going to pick up like a velocity stack or exhaust, or you're just tuning your bike or you want to get rid of all the EPA crap. This is something that seems to be an issue for some people. When they come across, they're like, what the hell is this? I don't know what to do. So this is going to cover the crankcase breather. And on internal combustion motor, you have pistons that are moving up and down. And as they move up and down, most people only really think about what's happening in this combustion chamber. And that's where fuel and air goes into, and it's ignited. You know, piston pushes all the exhaust gases out of a valve. So it's suck, squeeze, bang, blow. It sucks in fuel and air, compresses it, ignites it, blows it out the exhaust valve. Now, people don't really think a whole lot about what's happening below that piston. And when that piston goes down, it's pushing air. And that air's got to go somewhere. And you have basically now pressurized the bottom end of your motorcycle. And that's your crankcase. So when those pistons go down, the air has to have somewhere to go. If it doesn't have a place to escape or go, it is going to force oil and air out of the weakest point in your motor's assembly, which would be oil seals. There's seals up here. There's seals between the head and the cylinder. There are seals at the base of the cylinders. There's seals over underneath the side engine covers. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words here. This is fun. There's seals all over this motor that can blow out if you plug your crankcase breather. So the breather is the solution for this pressurization in the pressure change inside the crankcase. Ideally, you'd have a breather system that would maintain a constant pressure between the pistons, but the easiest thing to do is really to vent that crankcase. So Honda, in all their wisdom, has chosen to make this fun little contraption. And I don't have all the pieces on me, but this is pretty recognizable to most of you. You'll find this white triangular piece up underneath the frame right about here on your bike. And this is actually the original tubing that you're going to find on a 600. On a 750, very, very similar. This is bolted into the frame, and when you take off your side neck covers, you're going to see this guy. It also has a little drain hose where you can drain the fluid out of this, and that is because there is going to be a certain amount of condensation, oil, water that comes out of the crankcase breather. Temperature differentials cause condensation, and Honda can't just let it pour out of their bikes on the road. Maybe in the 60s, 70s you could, but nowadays everyone's all up in arms about, shaving whales and hugging trees. So anyways, when you're doing stuff like cleaning up the look underneath your tank, you're going to install velocity stacks, you're going to do exhaust, you're going to tune, most of you guys are interested in getting rid of all the EPA hoses and things. And it's an air injection system. If you have these little plates on the back of your motor, that means you do have the air injection system. You're actually going to have I'll show you the little aluminum piece that goes there. Okay. This is my carton of hose. So this guy right here is what will be on top of your cylinders. If you have this, there's going to be one at the front cylinder and one at the rear. That is covering a little reed valve. And when you get rid of that, you're going to need AIS plates to cover it up on the 600. And that prevents your motor from being choked to death by unspent exhaust gases being recirculated through the intake system. It is a means of appeasing the Environmental Protection Agency so that whatever comes out of the back of the bike is much cleaner. Honestly, pumping dirty air through your intake is just a piss poor idea. So anyways, moving on. I found this little gem just now, and this is what you're going to see. There's a plug on here, and this goes back to your crankcase breather. You've got this, which is going to allow you to drain all the crap out of there. And yeah, so that's what originally all this stuff looks like. And you can get rid of this. Now, that poses us with a problem. Now that we've thrown that away, you have this. You have this. It's a big gaping hole on your rear cylinder. At this point, I would also like to let you guys know you cannot switch the front and rear head covers. If you do, you will blow oil out of your cylinders. One of my friends actually accidentally did that and had some fun with oil spraying everywhere out of his bike. So one thing that's worth noting here is that when it comes to the head covers on your bike, you cannot swap them. They will bolt up just fine, but you can't swap these. Reason being, there is no crankcase breather passage through the front cylinder head. It's not there. It's only on the rear. And that's why this head cover must be on the rear cylinder. So you've got this little nipple sticking out here. Not this one. This is a coolant passage. Ignore that. We're talking about this guy right here. So the issue is if you don't put something over this, it's going to start spraying, air and oil and moisture all over the place. It's pretty dirty. Easiest way to figure that, to address this, is to run a hose. You can actually use the original hose, push it over the top of that, and run it down the back of your motor. So right now, this is just dangling here. I would extend this and route it so it drips on the chain. Yes, I know some people are going to say, that is not a good way to lubricate your chain. No, not really. Ideally, modern lubricants for a motorcycle chain are ideal. However, in this situation, it's better to put that, whatever moisture is coming out of there, it's mostly oil, on your chain than just on the ground or on your tire. You can route that wherever you really want, but that's all you have to do. Now, I have seen some people put a filter, like a little filter on the top of this, which may seem like a great idea. However, because of the crap that's coming out of that passage, it's going to clog the filter. And eventually, you're going to have an issue with your motor being able to breathe properly out of the crankcase breather. It's called a breather for a reason. The motor has to breathe. And if it can't breathe, you got problems. So I would strongly recommend against using a filter unless you want to check it all the time and rinse it out and degrease it. It's just going to create more work for you. I just run a hose down the back of my motors and route them over the chain, or I run them straight to the ground underneath the motor. You should not be getting copious amounts of oil or fluid out of there. It's a pretty minimal amount. But when you're doing performance upgrades, you're putting stacks on, you're putting pipes on, you're tuning, you're not going to want to keep all the stock hoses. It's not necessary. So this is how to address the crankcase breather and why you don't ever want to plug it. Don't plug it. I repeat, do not plug your crankcase breather. You're going to have a bad time.